Hey guys, this is Atharo. Welcome back to another Cinema 4D to Unreal Engine 5 tutorial, and I'm going to be showing you how I was able to get this result in Unreal Engine 5. So let's start with Cinema 4D first. Basically, you can do all your simulations and animation over here. Today we're going to be covering the simulation part of it. So basically, I have a cloth simulation over here. This is a car simulation. If you want to animate this thing, there's a tutorial for it. I'll link it down in the description below. You can go and check that out. So the next step is to go to the simulation tag that you've applied to your object. So I have a cloth tag over here, and then you need to go to cache, and then you have to calculate cache, which stores the cache. So thus your simulation becomes fixed and the playback becomes much more smoother. So once you've done that, here's another project that I have opened with the simulation that is cached, and I have applied a cloth surface and a subdivision surface on top of it so that it adds some volume to those cards. Now playing this is going to be difficult since there are a lot of polygons over here. Hence, I'd recommend you to do this step once you're happy with your simulation or animation. Then you need to go to subdivision surface. So I have this thing over here. So you need to go to the top object of the hierarchy, go on it and click on bake as alembic. So this will bake the object as an alembic. A few words on what alembic is. So in a nutshell, an alembic file is a file format which is able to store all sorts of animation and simulations, and you're able to bake them just as how they are into a file which we can open and use in any other software. In our case, we're baking our simulation from Cinema 4D and we're going to open it and run it in Unreal Engine 5. So one thing I forgot to mention is that before exporting as an alembic file, you need to store your selection. As you can see, in my case, I have these cards as one object, and if I go into Unreal Engine and I place a material on it, it's gonna apply the same material to all the cards. I don't want that. I want my cards to be of different colors. Hence, you have to go into the polygons and manually store their selection, as you can see over here. You can do easily by going to select, and then you can store the selection. So make sure you do that, because Alembic is able to read these selections and import it into Unreal Engine 5 as well. So that's not going to be a problem, because it's better if we do all of this beforehand rather than going and doing troubleshooting in Unreal Engine 5. So let's finally move on to Unreal Engine 5. Here we are in Unreal Engine 5. I have set up a scene over here and a sequence. If you can see, this is a HDRI over here, a studio HDRI, which gives a white backdrop, and I have got this 3-point light setup over here. So the next step is to import the alembic file. So now you need to go to the content drawer, click on import, and then you can find the alembic file in the same folder where you have stored your project file of Cinema 4D. So I have this subdivision surface copy .abc. Click on open. Now this is the most important part. So over here, make sure you select the import type as geometry cache. Then you need to create and find materials, and in preset you need to select Autodesk 3ds Max, and you're pretty much done. So it's gonna take a while to import the file. Now let's wait for it. Once your file is imported, you need to drag and drop it in the world, and then you need to reset the position. And once you've done that, you'll have to fix the rotation. So I think it's this one where I can try and fix it. Yup, is the y-axis, I think. Yeah. And yeah, I think now, as you can see, it's been imported and it looks good in our frame. So When you create a sequence in Unreal Engine 5, usually create in this way. You go over here and add level sequence. I already have one over here. You need to drag it and drop in the sequence. So once you do that, you have to go to track and add geometry cache. So geometry cache is basically where the animation is stored. And now if you go over here and you hit play, so everything has been imported. Look how cool that is. So I already have my object over here. As you can see, I have added some rotation over here, and then I have added some camera movement over here. So I'm not going to go into the depths of how do you set up these scenes or how do you use Unreal Engine 5. You already have got all of that on the internet. I will link a few tutorials in the description, but you can go ahead and do whatever you like in terms of stylization. Since we had stored the selection and we have separated the layers, as you can see, these layers from each other in terms of what material you can store, Alembic has successfully translated that from Cinema 4D into Unreal Engine 5. As you can see, we have different materials over here. Now it's up to you to choose what materials you want. So this basically is inspired by a Microsoft animation video by Not Real. It's a studio. They do really good 3D animation work. From this point, we're going to be focusing on how to render this from Unreal Engine 5. There are two ways to render this. So you can use Lumen, which is Unreal Engine 5's global illumination method, or else you can use path tracing, which is basically making use of ray tracing. Now, if you don't have a RTX card, you can go ahead and play around with Lumen. But if you have an RTX card, you need to switch your view mode from lit to path tracing, and as you can see, it just makes the output look so good. You have to take care of a few things when you're using path tracing. You need to go to project settings, and then you need to go over here and type out ray tracing, and make sure you turn on use hardware ray tracing when available, support hardware ray tracing, ray trace shadows, ray trace skylight, and path tracing. Also, you have to create a post-process volume, so make sure whenever you're working in Unreal Engine 5 you always have the post-process volume on. Even over here you need to type ray tracing to get the options. So I have enabled the ambient occlusion over here, and the GI method over here is ray traced, and even the reflection is ray traced. And yeah, I think that's there. The next part is rendering this out. There are two ways to render this. Number one is you can use the normal rendering option that you get, that is the scene capture, or else you can go to the plugins and type out movie render queue. I need to tick this box so that you can enable the movie render queue. It's preferable if you use movie render queue. You have to press over here, then you have to go to the settings, delete deferred rendering, delete JPEG, create a PNG sequence, then you need to add anti-aliasing, then you need to add path tracer. Yeah, I think that's about it. For output, you can choose your desired output. I have 1080 by 1080. I'm going to change it to 25 FPS. Anti-aliasing. Okay, so this is very subjective from animation to animation. You need to do a bit of trial and error to get the right sample count. The best way to figure this out is to go over here in the settings and go to path tracing in the post-process volume and see the samples per pixel, and then compare it with the image over here. If it's looking not too noisy, you can use the same samples, or you can like increase it to what, like 2048. I mean, yeah, that's how you can refine the materials and how the light is being bounced. So in this case, since we have 1024 wheel at 32 over here and 32 over here, which is 32 multiplied by 32 gives 1024. you have to click over at anti-aliasing. You can click this, and we don't need alpha over here. And yeah, I think that's about it. And then you need to press accept and then hit render local, which will start rendering your output. And that's about it. This is how you can get this kind of animation. If you have any questions regarding this method of using Cinema 4D to Unreal Engine, please feel free to comment down below and ask them to me. I'll be more than happy to reply to them, or else you can DM me on Instagram. I go by @atharvamotion. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll be back soon.